welcome to the 8th episode of the Peterpodcast. I'm your host, reporter Taylor Clydesdale, and with me is my guest, Chief Laurie Carr. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Taylor, for having me on. Ani bojo, woż kesztodem, megazeko idishnakas, Laurie jaganoshnoswin, michisagi nishnabeyendao, gima Hiawatha. My name is Laurie Carr, my English name. My spirit name is Eagle Woman, and I am from Hiawatha First Nation and the chief of my community, and I am Mississauga.
Can you describe for me what Hiawatha is?
Hiawatha is our First Nation community. We are located just outside of Peterborough, 20 kilometers, and we are on the north shore of Rice Lake.
Okay. I spoke with you last week, and we did a story, which you can read now on MyKawartha.com, about clean water issues in Hiawatha. It's part of a conversation that's going on right now. It's been going on for years about clean water problems in First Nations communities, but why don't you tell me a little bit about the issues that your community is facing with clean water?
Well, our community has, over the years, we have had people with dry wells or bad drinking water. And we have been trying for approximately 20 plus years to get a water treatment plan, and we've had several feasibilities done by Department of Indigenous Services, which was formerly known as INAC, in Indian and Northern Affairs Canada, and they have just recently changed their name. But we have done studies with them, and we have been waiting to get on this list for a water treatment plant. And as I understand with the new criteria that has come down from Canada is that you have to have consistent boil water advisories for 1 year. And because we fix the problem, we put on as you would say, a Band-Aid or a temporary solution, and people will chlorinate their wells, or we'll do what we need to do to fix the public buildings, then we don't meet that criteria of consistent.
So because Hiawatha goes in, and you have a person who goes out to all the public wells and private wells as well when they're requested and does clean water testing, and you come up with solutions. Because you do that, that means that you don't apply for funding to help you out with a clean water treatment system? Exactly.
We have a water technician, and he will go around to the houses and public buildings, and if there is a water sample that comes back that has coliform levels in it or E. coli, then we will do that fix immediately, because we cannot, we need to ensure our citizens have clean water, or anyone visiting the community has clean water. So we do that fix, but we've been doing that for many, many years. And now, we've been trying to get on this list for a water treatment plant.
Now, how long has this issue been going on for?
At least over 20 years. Taylor, it's just been always that I can remember an ongoing issue in my community.
And how long have you been the chief?
I've been the chief just this past year for 1 year, but I've been chief previously for 4 years, and then on my council for 3 years prior to that. So several years I've been representing my community as a politician, but prior to that I also worked in my community as the community health representative, and at that time I was the water tester. Mm-hmm. That was part of my job and responsibility as a community health representative. So I know this situation has been ongoing, and even prior to myself working there, it's been an ongoing issue for many years.
So you've been involved in this water debate that's been going on for decades then?
Yes.
Yeah, so in Peterborough I feel like there's 3 or 4 issues that pop up either every single year, every couple of years, that are kind of always at the top of the public's conscience. Like, you've got the Parkway, you've got the PDI sale until recently, kind of ongoing-ish. You've had the casino in Selwyn. They have the Causeway redevelopment. They have the bypass. How much time and energy has been put into kind of dealing with this clean water issue in Hiawatha over the years?
I would almost want to say daily, Taylor. Almost,
Okay.
at least weekly, even more weekly, even more than, twice weekly. Like I just can't count the number of days because we do water testing weekly. And so if there is a bad water sample return, then we have to deal with that for another day or two. And then we go back and retest that. And we have to have 3 clean samples in a row. So we are always dealing with water issues on a daily basis.
And this is at the forefront of your community every day.
Absolutely. Water is, as we had mentioned before, water is life. And that's not life just for First Nations, that's for every person. And it's important to us to ensure that our citizens have clean, safe drinking water.
So you say water is life. Can you describe for me, because I know there is spiritual meaning of water. Can you describe what that meaning is to me?
Yes. So in our culture, we and actually, when we talk, we'll talk initially about, you're born in water. Babies are born in water. They're developed in water, and then they're born. And so we start from there. And then, scientifically we're made up of water, percentages of water. But that water is, for us, is all living things. It's a living, breathing entity. And so and it's our job to make sure, because it gives us life, because we honor it, and we do ceremony for the water, and we do prayers for the water, and we have women, grandmothers, Joseph Mandam, and there's a young girl named Autumn Peltier, and they're doing great work for our water, walking around the Great Lakes, because of making sure that we continue to have clean, safe water, and that we continue to have water. I heard in an article, that the safe drinking water, even water in general, in years to come will be cost more than gold. And then water is just a basic human right that everyone is entitled to. So we do our part in that spiritual entity of protecting the water.
Yeah, I know. I had previously done a piece with you about consultation of Indigenous people on development. We had talked about making sure that, if development happens, or if there's any shovels in the ground, making sure that there's some kind of consultation there to make sure that First Nations are consulted.
Yes.
They know what's happening, and if there is something archaeologically significant there, that you're aware of that and you have a say in what happens.
Yes.
In that piece, you described Indigenous people as caretakers of the land.
Yes.
And that was something that it felt like a very powerful statement to me. Because you're not just doing this so that you have clean drinking water, you're caring for the land so that, future generations are able to enjoy it and enjoy the qualities that make this land so bountiful and green and generous for future generations.
Yes. Yes, all the development that happens naturally affects the land and the water. And as First Nations, it is our teachings and our role to take care of the lands, as you said. And that is, and you're right, you said it probably no better than I could, Taylor, you said it wonderfully, is that we need to take care of the land. We need to watch what's being put on the land, or put in the land, or being dug up from the land. And that includes the water, because that will run into our water systems and into the aquifers. So we need to ensure that what's being done is environmentally safe. And it's not about, just First Nations 7 generations to come. And when I say that, again, one of our teachings is we always think about the 7 generations behind us and how they've come this far and how we've come this far from them. but we also make decisions based on the 7 generations to come so that they can have this good life and live a good long life. And so that's not just for First Nations. When we take care of lands and we take care of water, that's for everyone. It's not just for our people. We all live here.
Mm-hmm.
And so we look for that support outside of our communities to assist us with, making sure the development that's being done is being done appropriately, that it's not negatively adversing the land or the waters. It's really important that we all be aware of this, not just First Nations. It's all of ours. And we say that we take care of the land, and that's because that was given to us as a gift. This is what we call Turtle Island. North America, we call it Turtle Island, where First Nations have the history of being here since the beginning of time. And that's our responsibility that the Creator gave us to look after what was given to us.
Yeah, that's a very powerful position that you have. And up to this point, have you had the chance to provide your insight and provide your say when these developments do happen? Or how are those conversations developing right now?
It has been ongoing for a little while. We have had, for the past several years, we've had a consultation worker. We have 2 consultation workers, and they are notified by like the townships or the counties, other cities within the Mississauga territory, the Treaty 20 territory, and that if they're doing any kind of development, from changing a culvert to almost to the construction of a building. And we do get quite a few of those, actually a lot more than the human resources we have available. However, what we do find sometimes is, and we are working on our relationship with the city of Peterborough, but we do find that there has been a lack of consultation with the city. And but we are, again, as I said, moving forward on building that relationship. I've presented to the city, and back in November, I believe, and stating that we need to be consulted when any type of construction development is going to happen. And because there are areas we need to, we talk about species at risk. There's that protection of those species, again, the water, the land, but also if there are artifacts in the ground, we have insight as to where maybe battles have occurred prior to contact. There was battles, and so once you start digging up the ground, you may also be digging up what we say is our ancestors and their artifacts. And so then we start talking about archaeological assessments. And depending on what is, how much is being brought out of the ground, then we can go up to a stage 4 archaeological assessment.
So there's so many conversations kind of happening right now. I know there's some pushback happening at Trent University on some of the developments that are happening right now from environmentalists, students, former students who are concerned about the green space that's being torn up for the Clean Tech Commons, their new aquatics facility, and that's just on a local level. I think what we're seeing too on a national and international level is more people who are concerned about environmentalism and maintaining the natural elements that we have. What are your thoughts on that, the kind of increased support for environmentalism? How does that make you feel?
I'm very pleased with that. I think that is so important to have the support of everyone when it comes to those type of issues. When you talk about the pipelines, when you talk about, losing green space, when you talk about I'm trying to think, Taylor, of there's just so much going on in that area, but when I think of this, I think of the big ones like the pipelines that are happening, and we need that support. You know, we need to do this together to protect the land. You know, again, it's not just First Nations, it's every single First Nation person, it's every single Canadian who lives in Canada that will be affected by development.
Mm-hmm. So just to get back to the clean water issue, what's going to happen right now, and what are you hoping happens to resolve this clean water issue? Not just, you know, on a local level too, although I do want to ask you about that, but, you know, on a national level, about all these communities that say they are suffering with clean water issues, and these haven't been consistent problems in the past.
Right. I think that nationally, it's good what this government has done in trying to end consistent boil water advisories, and I'm happy and grateful for those communities who are able to get their water fixed or get their issues related to the water fixed. But what it also does is it puts communities like mine who have been fighting for safe drinking water for many years out of the loop, out of that criteria. So in my community locally, we are working on an alternative that we are going to be bringing forward to our community that, you know, it'll be a short to mid-term alternative, and hopefully work into that piece of getting a full water treatment plant. So we'd be able to provide safe, clean drinking water for those who need it, and eventually that will work into a full treatment plant. So we are working on alternatives, and we'll be bringing that forward to our community.
Well, thank you for bringing these issues forward and talking with me about them, and I look forward to continue to talk about Hiawatha and these issues in future stories.
Great, thank you, Tal.
Thank you very much for coming on here, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, Gretch.